In the pentagram rite, my senses stilled, and I felt a presence from the southeast corner. As things progressed, it was as if something was in the northeast corner as well. With the first set of vibrations, I saw a black concaveness in the upper left of the mirror. Then, in the right of the mirror was like horns of a deer or elk or something like that, and they were green. And then in the bottom left, there was a pink dress with glowing purple, violet gems upon it. I felt my weight as if it disappeared. In the final reading, all pain and stiffness left me, and I grew comfortably numb. It was as if the temple vibrated, not just with response to my voice. In the final scrying, blotches came forth from the mirror with green that filled the extraordinary shadows around things. And then it filled me, and there was a moment of a sense beyond this room. I was in the room, but the consciousness of the room was not there. It was as if I was somewhere else. And I still feel quite buzzy. In 1993, there was a difference of the title. That was in the place of that, and that was in the place of that. And certainly, when people say Thelema, do they really know what that means unless they're familiar with Aleister Crowley? Because even familiarity with Greek doesn't necessarily point a person to, well, what does it mean in this context? And certainly Aleister Crowley is an individual that you need to read in his own context. Whether you believe that he got the messages that he says he did from the entities that he says he got messages from, it still takes that sort of context. It's like, what is his work? What was he bouncing it off of? And so the comment of the Book of the Law is certainly very strong in that sense. Now, when it comes to the death of Aleister Crowley, I tend to believe the main account, and this main account was supposed to be of a woman who was with him for his last meal, and it goes something along the lines of he had a boiled egg and a shot of heroin. He said, "I am perplexed." He laid down, and around the time where she presumes that he died, there was some sort of weather phenomenon and stuff, and she was like, it was like the gods were responding to his death, was what she said. And that is very much, you know, the case. Well, I mean, you know, it sounds believable, and actually, I'm sure there's been some editing to make it sound more like some other cases. They want everybody to just regret things and want to be Christian when they die, some of the Christian sites. So I understand the suspicion with that, but, you know, I don't think it reflects terribly bad. Most people die from something that's their fault, and, you know, using heroin has only got worse as the years have gone by, the illegalization of it and stuff. And it's like, you know, most people, alcohol and tobacco, you know, if they try those things, it factors into their deaths. So it's, you know, let's not be hypocritical if that's one of your vices. It's like, oh, it's not my drug, it's not my perversion. It's like, you know, I understand the poetic paraphrase and understand that the pronunciation would be off. Ya, ah, dwa, tuf, warra, ba, ah, oo. And, you know, so there's some differences that I would bring out, and I've brought out before in terms of that. Not true. You know, Budge gives us enough information where we know that his pronunciation is wrong if you study the hieroglyphics with what he has given. He doesn't understand quite everything, and I do think we need a symbolic look at some of this stuff. And so to be motivated by what one witnesses, and kind of it jumbles into one thing. Some of what Crowley said was because he wasn't allowed in those days to talk about certain things explicitly. You could talk about horrible things, but, you know, if you said something about sex and you weren't quoting those passages in the Bible, you could get in trouble. And same thing with some other issues. If you weren't quoting the Bible and it's R-rated or X-rated material, then, you know, you could get in trouble, even legally. So that's why some things could have been done. But do you really have to tell people how much you masturbate? Is that you know, is that really necessary? Especially if your mission is the great work and such. And, you know, he was in an age where you look at the Roman, you look at the Greek, you look at some sort of sense of Egypt and Christianity, of course. You had some ideas of Celtic and some other cultures. The Hindu stuff was starting to make its way more available. So Aleister Crowley very much represents the new age. He was brought out of oblivion because people kind of were trying to interpret the Beatles, and maybe I should look over the lyrics and do my own video about, you know, a rough interpretation of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band, or, you know, whatever that, you know, group is called. Some of the gestures are gone over. Light, dark, degree signs, which are really the elements in ascending order according to the degrees. The veil signs, the enterer sign, and you have the mother triumphant sign, which sort of completes the family signs of the whole 4 darkness gestures. Daughter and slain are the ones left out of that. So daughter is the one that doesn't get a letter in the darkness sign, and the light sign is slain. Of course, some might switch slain and risen, but of course, we're kind of bouncing things off of maybe we need to change the Christian formula. And I do agree that Aleister Crowley wasn't a Satanist, or was he part Satanist? I have presented my sort of theory of Satanism and, you know, surrender unto God, pure monotheism on the other side. And by that, I mean the non-liberal, non-conservative take on monotheism. And I mean that in any sense, I guess. But I've taken it outside the political boundaries when I talk about that sort of thing. And I totally agree that somebody that considers Thelema their religion should have a copy too. So at least when a person does their own rituals and stuff in that context of Aleister Crowley as a prophet, I consider him like a sectarian prophet. I do believe he did have some experiences. He wasn't just a scholar. And I also understand the division into revelation or inspiration, scholarly work, suggestions, and official classifications. Because when I look at religion, you got revelation, inspiration, representation, scholarship, or mystical works. The point is to make it contemporary.